Hello there, Mr. Salas here. Right, so this video will be completely in English, and I'll have subtitles in English you can read while I'm talking. Now, why I'm making this video in English? I think it's very important to know that I'm going to show you, and I'm showing it right now, what my English is like 20 years later after I started learning it. Now, you might be thinking, right, so what did you do? What happened? Like, what's your story? So let me tell you all about it. So everything started when I was 10 years old. That's when I actually discovered that the English language was a thing. It was something that existed. Before that, I had no idea whatsoever, like what was English or how it was used or invented or whatever. I didn't comprehend the idea of a second language, even a third language that was like even further away from my mind, right? So it was just like a very strange situation where I discovered English by not even really knowing about it. Like for instance, the first time I read Sherlock Holmes was when I was very little. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I studied Scarlet, and I don't know why I knew this was in a different language originally. I guess like the whole streets of London, and I asked around, hey, well, where is London, right? So it's just it's in the UK. Well, what's the UK and all that stuff. I guess school also helped knowing about it. But I really learned about English and like everything that English entails when I started taking lessons, or really like they were just like your average classes in elementary school. So in elementary school, I actually had like a couple classes where I was taught the language in in the very in your basic run-of-the-mill sort of way. It's a very normal, your traditional method, basically. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. So I learned with grammar, vocabulary lists, and all this stuff, everything that doesn't work. And then I talk about in this channel that doesn't work. That's basically what I was taught. So yeah, it was a little I don't know, it was very I thought I never struggled with it. When I was little, I could read it and I could understand it, and I just naturally knew it. And I could never figure out why. I was like wondering all the time, why can I speak this? Well, this language. Why do I know these words? What happened? Like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? I think I'm just naturally gifted for it. That's what I thought. But obviously that's not true. That's not the case. Nobody is actually gifted to learn a language. Fight me. So basically, I just learned everything because I loved. All right, this is not. It's still to this day. It's really hard to say it, but I am. I'm just your average nerd and geek, yeah, and weeb. So I just love everything that has to do with comics, anime, video games. I'm just the guy for it. So when I was little, I was I was raised in the 90s, so we didn't have games available in Spanish in Mexico, right? So I couldn't actually do anything in regards to that. Like there's no patch to download on your game to make it in Spanish, or I didn't have a PC at the time. And even if I had, I'm talking about a time where the internet in Mexico was not even really here. It was just something you heard about it, and you could go to an internet cafe and pay, and pay like for an hour just to play some games on CartoonNetwork.com, in English, by the way. So we didn't really have tons of options for the language, so I just had to do it. But I was so mesmerized by the amount of video games and the whole media, and everything was so amazing that I really wanted to learn, and I really wanted to know what was happening in the games I was playing. One of the first games I played from beginning to end was Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo, SNES, I think it's called in English, right, as well. So I played that a lot when I was younger. I never owned a Super Nintendo when I was little. I only rented it, but I finished the game, so you can imagine how many hours I rented all the time. So when the N64 came out, I was actually bought one by my mother, and I played that to the end of times. Like I played N64 so much, especially games like Zelda. Zelda was my first was the first time I actually played something in English, and I just liked the game so much. I couldn't stop. You know, I just couldn't stop. I had to play the game. I had to finish it. But then again, like, Zelda is very story-driven. So half the time I didn't know what I was doing. You know, obviously I knew, oh, I'm an elf or something apparently. I have a sword. I hit things with the sword. I have a shield. I protect from things with the shield. You know, I understood that, obviously. But I didn't know why. And that was important to me. So I actually never studied. I never did anything really apart from the lessons at school, which are like awful in Mexico, by the way. I don't know, there was this sort of blockade in my head of, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do it, whatever. I was like, I can't be bothered with English. I'll just power through it and play the game. And eventually I just knew the language. That was amazing. Like I couldn't understand anything spoken because at the time, you know, games were not voice acted or anything. It was just reading all the time, right? So I could read very easily. I could take a paragraph from a book and read it, maybe. I never did, but I'm sure I could have done that. And when I was at school, you know, I always got a 10 in English because I just knew the language. We did this really basic exercises on I like, right? I live in Mexico. Where are you from? All this stuff. So it was really easy for me. I don't know. It's just hard to explain. But it's all about comprehensible input, which is what I always talk about in this channel. And so that's how I learned when I was little. Then World of Warcraft came out in about, I think it was 2004, 2005. I played it 2005, 2006-ish, sort of. And I started playing World of Warcraft. And I was playing that game hardcore. That was the first time I actually communicated with people from another country in-game, playing online, you know? Because the only other game I played online was Counter-Strike. But, you know, like, you didn't really talk that much or listen to people that much. But in World of Warcraft, you had to coordinate 40 people at once, and then like 25 where the other expansions came out. So you had to coordinate, and if you wanted to beat the game as is. So it was amazing that I joined the guild, because at the time there were no Latin servers. So you had to do it with the ones in North America. So you just had to power through it. So I did that. I actually played the game on those servers, and I never talked. That's the amazing part. I was always in the guild listening to what people were saying. Like, they were talking about how to beat this boss and what to do and the strategies. Obviously, I could read English at the time. So what I did, I checked the fights before the raid. So I knew what to do. And when they explained the whole thing and they did it, and we died or succeeded, that's how I knew. Oh, right. I got this, I got that. So that's basically how I learned to speak. People don't believe me, but the best way to speak. I never spoke on the. I think it was Ventrilo at the time. It was like, for you all, all you younglings. This is like a Discord for boomers. I never actually talked. I was just listening all the time, which was amazing, right? That's how I learned to talk, by listening and receiving all this input. So after playing for so long, I just acquired the language. I could actually understand people talking all the time on the server. I could read everything, and I surprisingly could speak as well. I just had never tried. So I eventually, after like 2 years of playing with those guys, like almost every day, I developed my speaking. I could talk to them. My accent was a little rough, but I could do it, you know. And eventually, I just fixed it. You might be asking yourself, how did you fix your pronunciation? Because if you notice, like, I don't have the typical Mexican accent, as people say. I hate that term, but that's just a way to explain it, right? And really, the only thing I did was I became an English teacher. I was interested in learning, in teaching English. But to be honest, I chose that degree because I didn't want my mom to get mad at me. I was terrible at school. So the only thing I did well was English. So I figured, all right, I can speak the language, so might as well study it, because I will get top grades. And she won't. She will be happy with my grades. Basically, she would allow me to play World of Warcraft all day. That was my plan. That's why I chose this degree. It doesn't make me proud, but that's what I did. That's what happened, and it worked perfectly. It actually worked. I got top grades all the time, and everything was awesome. Now, I count myself as a very lucky person because I actually chose a degree I like. I mean, that degree, that's my, it's definitely my thing. I love languages. I just didn't know it. So choosing this degree because of that reason was actually a very lucky move on my part. Now, so how did I actually manage to fix my accent? Because my pronunciation was fine. It's just my accent needed some work. When I was studying to my degree on English, basically, which is like English teaching, English translation, interpretation. So what happened is like I discovered phonetics with an awesome teacher. So she taught me all about phonetics and stuff, and I became obsessed, and I really wanted to know, like, oh, so I can improve my pronunciation if I actually learn all this stuff, right? So that's what I did, basically. I imitated people all the time as well, using shadowing, and I also learned phonetics, so I knew how to write a word, and I never mispronounced it later. So that's how I fixed word by word, little by little, my accent. And then I discovered that if I do this, what I'm doing right now, which is like using my throat when I speak the language, I sound much better. That is actually the big trick. So for instance, if I don't use my throat, this is how I normally sound. And you can tell immediately that my accent is very Mexican-like, right? It's so funny because I am talking the same as when I'm using my throat, but my throat fixes a lot of my problems when I'm talking like this in normal accent. So I know, I mean, it sounds okay, right? Like you can understand, but you can clearly tell a difference when I'm using my throat, which is like right now, and when I'm not using my throat, which is like this, right? So that's the big difference. Even all the phonemes and all the sounds and everything are like, you know, they are in the correct place. You can tell there's a big difference between using my normal voice, which is like my Spanish voice, basically like this, trying to speak English as if it was Spanish, and it's very different when I'm using my throat. My throat makes it sound more native-like, and that's amazing, right? I mean, it's just like a trick I use all the time to sound more native than I actually am, because my English doesn't sound that good. It's just an effect, like a filter I have on my voice that I can activate on command. But I have to admit something. I can only keep up this voice for about 30 to 40 minutes. Longer than that, I start to struggle, and I need to drink tons of water. Like throughout this video, I don't know if my editor has cut the parts when I'm drinking water. Es lo que me pasa, Jorge. Si hablo mucho inglés, tengo que tomar agua. But I need to drink a lot of water to keep this voice, because it starts to get raspy, you know, a little. So that's how I do it. That's my secret exposed, I guess. But yeah, that's how I learned. That's how I learned English. Like, and obviously after that, I learned all about grammar in English and everything. But the big thing was definitely video games, anime, which at the time, again, there were no subs in Spanish. Mostly, it was mostly English. So I had to learn English to be able to watch anime. And I also learned through World of Warcraft. That was the big one, I think. Because I imagine, for like 4 years of my life, I went to school in English, because at university, everything was taught in English. So I was there from 7 to 3 every day, Monday to Friday. And then I came home and I played World of Warcraft from like 4 or 5 p.m. until really late at night. That's crazy, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how I learned the language. That's how I learned to speak English, to listen to it, the grammar behind it. You know, I am an English teacher, so I guess it's just natural. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you. Oh, by the way, the most important part. How long did it take me to get to this level? That's basically 20 years. 20 years of not knowing what to do You know, I was just doing stuff. I was just playing a game. I was just studying grammar for arbitrary reasons. So I wasn't doing the things I know nowadays. And you can tell, if you watch my German videos, you can tell how I learned that language pretty well in about a year's time, really, of actually studying, which is just basically watching Netflix and reading a couple books. That's what I did. So if I had done all that, I probably could have learned this level of English, I think, in about 3 or 4 years, maybe. I'm pretty sure I would sound the same. Obviously using my time more effectively, knowing what to do and doing it daily and constantly. But anyway, time has passed, and these 20 years I have learned a lot, and I hope no one else has to spend 20 years doing something that you could attain in like a quarter of that time. Thank you. And even though this video is in English, I have to say goodbye in Spanish because that's the trademark of my channel. So, sorry, but here it goes. Saludos a todos los alumnos autodidactas y futuros políglotas. Class dismissed. Bye. Thank you.